everybody? It's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio Entertainment. I hope you find some kind of peace of mind. Here we are with another episode of Mental Health with Epis, episode 30. All right. Big number 30, Dub. And today, to end Women's History Month, we have a very special guest, a friend of mine, Deanna Astol, Energy Practitioner. All right, we have a bit of a history. We grew up in the same neighborhoods. We went to the same schools, but we were never in the same cliques of people. So it's great having her on. And we're going to talk about her career, what she does for a full-time job, what she does in her side quests, and being a mother of four. We are here to celebrate that. As a father of four, I understand what goes into all that. The fact that you're doing all these other things, it's definitely worth celebrating. Of course, I got my co-host W. Dubois here, but Deanna, thank you for coming on the show. How you doing? How's everything?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you on. Before we get into all your practices, things like that. Just a quick intro for yourself. Why don't you explain, to some of the viewers out there, what an energy practitioner is, what goes into that? Obviously, you are, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Reiki certified. You're a Reiki certified master. Reiki.
Yep.
Okay, see, I knew I was going to
hmm
mess that up. Of course I am. You're a New York certified peer support specialist, polarity therapy practitioner, and an ordained minister as well. Okay,
Yeah.
just a quick little, for the people out there watching, what goes into being an energy practitioner outside of the
Um,
certifications?
I help people feel safe in their bodies again so that they can live life and make better decisions for themselves. I help them with nervous system regulation, emotional regulation, and just clearing out that old stuck stuff from their bodies so that they can live better lives for themselves and be in better relationships with others.
Yeah,
And I
I
use
need a little
energy.
bit of that in my life for sure.
So I use energy modalities like Reiki and polarity therapy to do that. And how I got here was basically a lot of personal experience. Like a lot of people, I grew up with a lot of trauma and I didn't have the easiest life. And I made some decisions that led me to a place where I really had to get control of things. And um, Reiki really presented itself to me and I ran with it. And I'm so glad that I did because it's changed my life and I help other people do the same.
How did you find out about becoming a Reiki master? And you have a friend that introduced you to it. How do you just quick Google search? You found it. You came across it. What
Yeah,
happened?
how did it present itself to you,
Yeah.
right? You said
Okay,
presented
well,
itself
I
to you.
feel like everything happens for a reason. So a little backstory about myself. I grew up with panic disorder. I was diagnosed at about 14, 15 years old. I would have a lot of panic attacks. I was on medication off and on for about 15 years.
Hmm.
And like I said, I made some decisions. I had kids right out of high school. I was a single mom of three for a long time. And I was living in Florida. I came back to New York and I started learning psychology and human development in college.
Hmm.
And I was working a lot, just trying to be a single mom, living life. And I couldn't do it. I was struggling big time
Not
because
easy, not easy at all.
the medication wasn't helping. And if I missed a dose, I was having withdrawals. It was horrible. So I
Hmm.
just got to a point where it was like, if I don't figure something else out, I'm never going to succeed. And the main reason I do what I do is to show my kids that life doesn't have to be, hard all the time, that you
Yeah.
can move through it. So, I started on a holistic path. I started weaning myself off the medication. I used
Good for you.
CBD oil. I
Hmm.
don't know if you ever heard of it.
Sure. Me
Well,
and
Yep.
me and
well,
W are very familiar.
Okay. Well, it helped me tremendously. I think I started that at 30 after through, working with energy work and
Mm,
the CBD and learning emotional regulation. I'm 39 now. I no longer have panic attacks. I'm not on any
nice.
medication.
wow.
Yeah, so it's been amazing. It's been a ride. And so through the holistic part, I became pretty spiritual. I pray a lot and I've met some people in some good communities. And one day I was trying to I needed some help with getting some work, and a friend of mine that went to high school with me was like, "Hey, why don't you come and speak to this lady? Maybe she can help you out." And because he was working out of a healing arts center, and she's like,
Mm.
"Do you know of Reiki?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of it. I've had it done a couple times." She's like, "Would you want to do that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then she offered me an opportunity. She offered me an opportunity, and she's like, "I'll certify you." And that
Mm.
was it. That was it. I
Nice.
started, and I was like, "Oh my
Wow.
God, this is amazing."
You went to high school in Florida?
No, I went to high school in Bayside,
Oh, okay. Well,
Bayside
what school?
High,
Oh, okay, nice. So all right, well, how long were you in Florida for?
about 7 to 8 years.
Okay, and you and me, we have some interesting ties because we, went to the same grade school, middle school, the whole time. But, difference in age, 5 years apart. So we were kind of like crossing paths in some of
Yeah.
the similar circles of people. I certainly, if you take a look at our mutual friends on like Facebook or whatever, like you can, we know a lot of the same people, but we never, I don't think we interacted, if ever,
No,
until,
I
you know,
remember seeing you
yeah.
around. I remember your face, but and that's really why I think we, you
Did,
know, added each other on Instagram. But
yeah.
other than that, and then once we started talking, I realized we grew up in the same
Did you hear
state.
anything about me? Any bad rumors, good rumors? What did you know about me?
No, no, I hadn't heard
Uh,
anything.
No, well, that's
uh,
good because there was a lot to talk about me back in those days. But, especially when it came to IS 73. For those of you that know Maddie Flames, you know. Uh,
Flame.
um, I'm
That's
not
why we
sure
like
if I'm
Polarity.
not sure if you're aware of my past, but I was a troubled child, Deanna, growing up. I was a bit of a misfit, growing up in Maspeth, and I
Great
was
word to describe it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was an
Yeah, it's
outcast in society for sure, And
I want
God,
to say in my own way, I was too. I feel like people who go through certain things like that, they're meant for something bigger though once they realize it. So
you mentioned
that's why we're
trauma,
here now,
right?
right?
You
I could do.
mentioned trauma at the top of your intro, and I want to, maybe hear a little bit more about that if you're willing. Just to be transparent, give you my traumas. Losing my father at the age of 13 really set me off in a bit of a downward spiral in my life, and I definitely had some traumas prior to that, no doubt, growing up. But that was kind of the catalyst for me. What ensued after that is years of substance abuse, depression, panic attacks, the whole nine. And unlike you, it seems as if you took more of a obviously the holistic
Oh,
approach after medicating for quite some time, but it seemed
that's
like
the biggest thing to me, man.
you,
Is like
you took control of it. For me, I think I went the other end. Where I was self-medicating in a negative light, and just and even though I went to therapy, things like that, I never took prescription meds. I was against it, honestly, still am. Yeah, I understand for some people, it's necessary, but for me, I just have always been against it. But I went down the substance abuse sector of things, and definitely, well into my early 20s. Now I feel like I'm at a good point in my life, where obviously I'm not doing that. I'm not doing hardcore drugs, things like that anymore. Where I finally feel like I'm in a good place with all that. But for you, I'm more interested to hear like what were some of those traumas that sent you down that path that ended up, to whole prescription med thing, and just more on that if you don't mind.
Yeah. So when I was a kid and 9/11 happened, both my parents relapsed on drugs, and
Mm,
I hadn't been aware that previously that they had a problem. And so when 9/11 happened and everybody else was, scared about what was going on with that, my life was changing inside because my dad had just lost his job, my parents were relapsing, and I was the oldest of three, and I didn't know what the hell was going on.
mm,
um
that's tough.
and when you have I mean, I'm sure you can relate a little bit about the whole substance abuse. You're trying to escape things. I don't hold anything against my parents now. I understand
Mm,
why they went that route, but obviously that inflicted a lot of trauma on me and, my siblings and how we grew up. So I was in foster care for a little bit through high school. I lived with a different family, and I
Mm.
started to really find out actually more about myself, where my biological father was from, what he did, and why he wasn't around. And I basically kind of escaped to Florida. After I graduated high school, I went to Florida because I had family down there, and I started living with family that I didn't even know of because I was just so desperate for, a different life to
mm,
just try and make life meaningful for me. So I got married very young. I had children, and that didn't work out, and I was by myself in Florida for a while. And when you have kids, it changes you, man. Like, you don't want to keep repeating the same things, and you want them to be happy. So that's really what was the catalyst for my big change, was just like, I don't want them to struggle like I've struggled.
mm.
So
Do you you mentioned your parents relapsing around that time. And it's funny you mentioned the whole 9/11 thing, because that was one of my early traumas. I think for all of us growing up,
yeah. Uh-huh.
that's just a part of our generation, right? Like 9/11 was hugely impactful. I lost two people that one a cousin of mine that worked in one of the twin towers, and a family friend of ours who was a firefighter that wasn't even working that day and that perished in the collapse of the twin towers. So, you know, that day, for forever changed my life, no doubt. I can only imagine what you're going through at the time. You obviously a little bit older too, so a little bit more cognizant of what's going on around you. Me, I was pretty young, so it's weird how I perceived that day. But and my dad was still around. He was running away from the twin towers as it was falling. I remember him coming home, car filled with ashes and handprints all over the car. Him covered in dust. It's crazy. I can only imagine. Were you like fully aware at the time what your parents were going through? Did you know what they
I
what?
didn't. No,
Mm,
not at first. Because I don't know if you remember when we were kids, like, it was things like that were very hush hush. I
mm-hmm.
didn't know a lot about drugs and stuff like that. So when my parents started acting funny, I had no idea what was going
Right.
on.
Mm-hmm.
And I started feeling responsible, like, because, like I said, I have two younger brothers, and my parents are falling asleep, when they're not supposed to be falling asleep, acting
Mm.
funny. And
What was
it,
there? Do you mind if I ask? It was the drug of choice for them?
I want to say some sort of pills, but I
Okay.
know that there was a past before that with some harder stuff.
Mm.
I don't really want to air out my
Yeah,
parents,
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
but
right,
That's
yeah,
right,
it was,
okay.
right,
So
right, right.
I'm just
it
wondering.
was tough. It was tough. And I reached out to family, and it became a huge deal, and I kind of became the scapegoat for what was going on, because again, like, I feel like a lot of people can relate, like, when you're younger and things are going on in your family and you tell someone else, it's like, it's a big deal. You can't tell people what's going on inside your house.
Yeah.
And I was basically
Yeah,
just looking for help, and yeah.
I got you. I understand what you're saying.
Dub, did you
Yeah.
have a question for her before? I'm
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off.
Deanna, so you earlier in your intro, you were talking about how you got weaned yourself off of medications for your panic attacks and stuff, and that was what grabbed me the most in that intro. You were saying how your practices have pretty much gotten you where you're not having your panic attacks. So you medicated through your healing, and I think that is like incredible. That was like wow, because people need medications to get off of drugs. They need methadone to get off of
Yeah.
opioids, or they need this to, and then so it's like no matter what you do, you're taking a drug to fix yourself from something else, and that in itself you got more foreign substances in your body so to be able to do that. I think that's incredible, and that's what grabbed me the most. So I don't even know if there's a question. Just I wanted to say
Well,
that to you.
thank you.
Just
Thank you
pointing
so
out
much.
and pointing out
I feel
you.
like, and things that are, like, I don't want to, marijuana is a medicine. There's a lot of naturally occurring things like that people call drugs that can be used in a medicinal way. And it's all
Right.
about using things in a conscious way. If you're going to use it just to abuse something else, that's a different story. If you're going to use it to a point where, okay, I know this is going to help me through this panic attack, and you just use it for that, it becomes intentional. Intention really matters when you use things like
I
that.
agree. I agree. I mean, you know, we've seen people experiment with hallucinogenics or mushrooms, whereas there's an intent to better yourself, to look inside yourself and within, and so I understand that. I get that. I mean, me myself, I've experimented. You know what I'm saying? So, but there was also a time in my life where it wasn't about just experimentation. It was more so, I'm going through something. You know, when I was younger, I overdosed on oxycodone. And there was a time in my life I didn't care if I woke up the next day. I was popping pills like it was candy with the intent to harm myself. Obviously getting away from that, understanding that's not no way to live, and if I continued down that path, it was only going to probably be my demise. But later on in life, I've understood. Obviously, I partake in marijuana now. It's legal here in New York. But my usage of it, certainly compared to how I was when I was a youth, is way different than how I use it now. I'm not waking up at 7 a.m. and smoking a whole blunt, and just blasting myself to oblivion to the point where I'm doing nothing and not productive in my life. Now it's
Yeah.
it's a way of relaxation. It helps me wind down and sleep at night. It
That's
helps
why.
with digestion issues, things like that. Like so. I have a
It's
lot
also
of
it's really grounding. It's great for anxiety, really.
sure, which I tend to have a lot of at times.
So
We-
guys, yeah, real quick, Deanna, so the thing with that, like we always on this, everyone's on medications. The older we get, all my folks, the whole family's on medication. You
Yeah.
got all these ailments. You got hypertension out there,
Mm.
the regular American ailments, diabetes, all these stuff that
You muted yourself.
Oh,
Dubby, your audio, baby, audio, fix you. Testing. It's not working. Dumb. Try again, sir. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Dubby, plug in, plug out, do whatever you gotta do there, Pop. Still nothing. Oh no. We're in trouble. Yeah, maybe X out. I'm not picking you up on our end. All right, let Dubby fix himself there for a second. See if maybe Dub, try and leave the Discord real quick if you have to. I don't really know where he was going on that path right there, Dion. But let's talk more about you. Obviously, you good now, Dub? Yeah, he's trying to come back in. All right, sorry for little interruption. I'm trying to see if my co-host audio is coming back in. I got his video there, but
there's something wrong with my headset, man.
all
It's
right,
my
there we
headphone.
go.
I
I don't know what's
picking you
wrong
up
with it.
now. Yeah, we gotta
Yeah,
check that
it's
out.
my headphone.
Yeah,
I don't know if I got a short in them now because
it might be that
I
wire
just
might be
switched them
damaged.
around. Yeah, that's
All
what
right,
it
well
was.
you're
The
good
headphone.
now. Do you remember where
I
you
got them
were?
stable. Yeah. Basically though, what Deanna was saying, with healing herself through her practices, which are all natural,
Mm.
because it seems like there's not a lot of outside where we're talking about medications and consuming medications to fix another problem, because you're taking on a new problem to fix an old
100%.
one, right? And when you were talking about it, it felt like to me, Maddie, when we started to go out to run, and when she was like, "Yeah, I don't have panic attacks anymore, and I don't have this anymore," and that's how, because I had these ankle pains and back pains for years, and I started to go run, and they just went away, and I couldn't believe it. And that's what I was gonna say. The parallel to that, it really resonates with me with the how do you say it? The Reiki?
Reiki.
Reiki.
Reiki. I've never heard of it till today, but as soon as you started talking about it, I'm like, oh wow, like 'cause so there's really like a
Yeah, so
I'm cold.
we're all made of energy. We are. We have our
Yeah,
own energy
we
field,
have
and
electricity in us. We have
yes,
electricity in
we
our body.
do.
Yeah, 100%.
And so when we're born, we're shaped by our experiences, and we learn basically off of what society tells us, what our parents are doing, and copying their patterns and things like that. And um in energy work, there's a belief that whatever you're going through, physically, like if you have pain, or mentally, it's already shown in your energy field prior to that. It's been sitting there. So if, say, you've gone through something that was traumatic and you didn't really process through it, right?
Mhm.
It's just
All the
in your
time.
energy field, and it's blocking your energy flow, and that affects how you go about life.
How does one dissect this? How do you know, like, if somebody's going through this, how do you, what's the word I want to say? Like, identify that issue, because when you're going through it, you're going through it. You're having a panic attack, like, what are some methods a person could do to, like, kind of, stop the pattern and reverse it and lead to a more healing path? Like, what do you
It
recommend?
it takes self-awareness. It
Mm,
takes self-awareness, and self-awareness in the way that you're not judging yourself. You're learning to give yourself compassion and grace, because we're all human. We all have our own experiences. We all go through our own crap.
mhm.
And that's really what it takes, because a lot of people, they get into panic or they have anxiety and they start beating themselves up.
Yeah.
More than ever nowadays is so much pressure, and we're so much meaner to each other than we were 10 years ago.
I
So I could definitely feel what you're saying, Deanna.
I really feel like this kind of work is what is going to help change the world. That's why, like, when you guys brought this to me, I was so happy to have an opportunity to speak out loud about it, because it's so important. We're not taught these things as kids, and we're always constantly distracted, between entertainment and, what's going on outside of us, our phones, celebrities, and we're really taken away from ourselves. And like you said about medication earlier, we're taught that something is going wrong with us, I have to seek someone else to fix me. And that's not
Mm,
really how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to become so self-aware about, what our choices are and where they come from, so that we can make better choices for ourselves. It's about self-sovereignty, really, when you
Right,
come back
because
down
when
to it.
you know how to repair yourself. I mean, sorry, to when you make a mistake, if you acknowledge it, you know how not to do it again. If you don't acknowledge it, we're in the same
Yeah,
loop.
you're just repeating patterns. Exactly.
and society doesn't help because,
It's hard.
especially TV advertisements, oh, here's the quick fix. Takes this pill or
Yeah.
do this or do that, and oh, just pay for this subscription and I'll, whatever. It's there. There's so much. It's oversaturated,
A lot of
and
things we use to cope, it's not healthy to it's not healing us. We just cope and then we move on,
Yeah,
and then
and
you know,
you're not really even coping. You're
mm,
distracting. You're escaping. It's not a coping when you
wow,
do things like that.
wow.
now, why would somebody go the route of an energy practitioner? Let me hear your pitch as to why you offer services. You actually work out of two locations,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah. Let the viewers know where you are, where they could find you. I did have your page up. I'll actually put it up now for you guys
Okay.
as well. But
So
yeah, talk about that and then why, again, why somebody would seek out your services for the betterment of themselves.
so I work out of Three Elements Healing Arts Center on Bell Boulevard in Bayside. And then I also work out of Gem and Rose Beauty and Wellness, off of Francis Lewis in Flushing. And why would somebody seek out an energy practitioner? Because we, most of us, I want to say, especially, I'm going to speak for myself. When you've gone through the things that I've gone through, I am not judging at all. And most people don't have a space where they can just feel seen and heard. And I don't even necessarily have to say anything. You're just being there with you is what's
Understand.
is so helpful. Yeah,
Mm,
we're always moving. We're, like we said before, we're always distracted. So when you take that hour for yourself and you commit to that, to the energy work, and you're just sitting there receiving the energy that I'm giving to you, and you're allowing yourself that space, sometimes that's all it takes. you need to be seen it because when you slow down enough, your body really can repair itself.
Mm-hmm.
Slow down.
How much do these types of services, cost for somebody? Just for reference of mine. What type of services do you offer? Is it just one specific one, or do you have, what are some of the things you do? And
So
you know,
I offer Reiki and I offer polarity therapy. Reiki, I would say if you've never had energy work, it's really a great place to start.
okay,
It's very relaxing, and usually you can get a session between 75 to maybe $100 for an hour.
for an hour. Okay.
Yeah, and it's very relaxing. You're basically just laying on the table. You speak to you speak to the practitioner ahead of time. You tell them what's going on with you a little bit.
Hmm.
And have you ever heard of hands-on healing?
I have, yes.
Okay, so this is basically pretty much what it is. It's
Hmm.
it's hands-on healing. The Reiki practitioner channels energy, life force energy through their palms into your body, into your energy field, and it allows things that have been stuck to finally move. Because when your energy field is blocked, your energy is not moving, and that's what causes illness and disease and things like that.
We have a question from YouTube. Brenda, appreciate your question. Uh, Question here: How is this different from a regular therapy session?
Great question, Brenda.
That is a really good question. So therapy, a lot of the times, I mean, I know I've been to therapy, and I did try that beforehand. Not to say that it doesn't work for some people because it does. It's not all talking.
Mm.
So you have a brief moment in between where you're talking and you're listened to, but for the rest of the time, you're basically laying on the table, relaxing and being aware of your body and what it's feeling, and just giving yourself space.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of therapy, traditional therapy as well. I mean, I'm a fan of all therapies. Listen, if you can pitch to me that it will help in any given way, just like what you're pitching to us now, I'm all for it, man. It's good. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, as long as it's like not an astronomical price, which in this case I don't think it is. Um, and again, it's about healing yourself. It's about working on yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Traditional therapy is nice. I'm not too crazy about prescription medication. I
Oh
understand
yeah,
for
man.
I
The
understand for some
dependence.
people it may be a thing, especially the ADHD, the whole nine. But yeah, like
So
yeah, no, you had a thought on that, yeah.
So my middle son actually has ADHD.
Hmm.
And I use Reiki with him,
Okay.
and I do see that when I use it, he has less symptoms. He's a lot calmer. He's more motivated. It it helps. It works. Like I think honestly, the work that I do has poured so much into my daily life. Like my household is so wonderful to be a part of.
Right,
Mm.
And a lot of
right.
people, when they look at me, they're like, "Oh, you're a single mom of four. That must be crazy." Like, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
Sometimes it's tough, but
Yeah.
it's it's all about how you move through it and what you're teaching your kids. When you teach your kids how to cope with their feelings, no one's off the rails. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right. Yeah.
mhm. No, the emotional intelligence, man, it's everything.
A hundred
You know,
percent. And when you learn to have compassion for yourself, it becomes a lot easier to have compassion for others.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And even if you don't understand what they're going through, you just understand that everybody has their own life experiences.
Yeah, I mean, listen, House of Four, that's a busy environment. But you're right. If your kids are coached on how to, feel their feelings and how to be vocal about that, it makes a world of difference for somebody that's suppressing those emotions. And I get it. I remember I was a
forget about it.
crazy 13-year-old kid that was locked in his room, listening to emo music, the whole nine, not talking, not being out front and emotional. And when I was expressing my emotions, it was met with anger and rage. And damn, do I feel terrible for my mother. But you know
I feel for you. I feel
yeah,
for you. I think we've all kind of been there. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And when
Yeah, we've been to our places.
yeah.
it's
It's
something
the
it's
important
something
thing is to learn from it. You learn from it.
yeah.
You don't let it make you a bitter person. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, and listen, it's not easy. Being a parent in any given scenario, whether you're young or old. I know, for me, having my firstborn at such a young age, there was definitely a huge learning curve on how to regulate my emotion when it comes to parenting. And I think, my oldest suffered a little bit of that, because I see the signs, some of the signs in him that I
That
had
you were
when I
dealing
was younger.
right, right.
And I've noticed some subtle differences when it comes to my younger children now. And listen, it's
Hmm.
still, I'm not perfect. We're parents. We make mistakes. We're learning every day on how to get better. There's no rhyme or reason to any of this. There's no guidebook on how to do things properly. Every household is different. Every kid is different. But certainly, a good foundation is key. And I've noticed a bit of a difference when it comes to my younger children and my oldest. And again, it's no fault of my own. I made my decisions. I had a child at a young age where I was obviously not as well equipped mentally to process what it is I was going through. Now, I feel like I'm in a much better spot with that. But again, I'm human. We make
A
these
lot of it is
mistakes.
self-awareness, Maddie, and you're
Yeah.
always talking about it, so you're acknowledging it, and that's where your healing and your
Yeah,
evolution comes
a
from.
hundred percent, 100%. Give yourself credit for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I try to, but I probably, I've always been my own worst critic. So, that
Yeah.
I'll always, I could do better. I could do better. But I think that's all at the same time. It's my own way of self awareness to where, like, okay, I know, like, how do I improve? How do I, let me self
Yeah.
reflect. Do I need to do something more? Am I doing, not doing enough? This is how I manage my emotion. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's kind of how
Well,
I've been
it's a
going with
work
it.
in progress. It's a work in progress.
It is. It is. It's a journey. You're never fully at the end. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
always growing. That's the important part. It's like,
Uh,
where can I grow? Where can I improve?
right.
So,
Brenda, so Dub, real
yeah,
quick. Brenda in the comments there. Again, thank you for the question. That was a good one. She just wanted to add some thoughts. Said, definitely have always wanted to try Reiki, but I feel nowadays so many people claim that they perform Reiki practices. I will definitely try this. Thanks. Interesting. So, does the oversaturation of the energy practice deter you away from actually participating from it? That's my question to you, Brenda. Deanna, what are your thoughts on that? Do why should?
Yeah, I have thoughts.
Yes,
I've
yes.
thought
Let me
about
hear
it.
it. I thought you
Okay,
would.
so I feel there are a lot of people who are performative
Okay.
when it comes to things like this. I think the personal experience is very important because when you've gone through something like this, your own trauma, and you've come out of it, it's very important to share that.
Mm,
And I want to say to Brenda that don't rush into something just because, go with what resonates, what feels
mm.
right, because that's your good emotions are what tells you which way to go.
All right. Solid. Dub, you had a question for Deanna?
you kind of stole my thunder with
Oh,
the
I'm
Brenda
sorry.
thing, but I could still spin it a little bit and add
Okay.
to it. Yeah. So, we're talking about energy, and it's a word that's almost cliche-ish almost nowadays, especially on it with the internet and social media. But it's real, like you said, it's in our bodies, and this is what we're made of. So, I say that to say this. How do you like me? You already sold. I'm sold because I already feel I'm already one of these people anyway. We're on the same playing field. I'm already before we even met. I was sold. So, like Brenda said, you don't have to be marketing it to anyone, but someone who could use this help, because I feel like natural healing is the best healing. I think it's
100%.
longevity. Um, how do we get this word out? Where someone's like, oh, this spirit lady or this crystal ball lady, like we know it's real. Like Brenda said, like she's skeptical. She likes you, but anything like this, how do we get the word out on
I
Reiki and all the holistics and the spiritual healing?
I feel like that's a really good question because I ran into that question myself a bit. I don't think marketing and advertising in the usual way is where it's at for something like this. I think it's
Hmm.
just living your life and being an example, and sharing people's stories that are successful in this, healing is really where it is. It's been hard for me to advertise myself, honestly.
Yeah. There
So,
has to be some kind of like people like they get all this white magic lady or whatever.
yeah,
People,
and I've
right?
gotten a lot of backlash. I've gotten backlash from people who are religious and they're like, "Oh, that's blasphemous." And then you
But
have
you don't.
people
It
who are
doesn't even
like,
sound like you're even doing anything like that. This is like
"But I get a
um
lot of it." And then you get on the other end where it's like, "Oh, that's so woo-woo and weird."
right. It's
And
not
so
real.
what
It's fake.
I'm trying to just basically show more of myself and and be open about my story, be vulnerable. I think that's really important. And just be myself and offer it and just know that people like for people to know that it's here. When they're
Yeah.
ready, it's here.
It definitely
You
resonates with me, the and whole energy thing, because we always talk about manifesting stuff, manifesting positivity, and miserable people, they in the opposite spectrum of the energy.
mhm.
Um, so like everything you're saying, I'm sold already. So you got one.
when, when you know more about energy work, it really helps in your favor. When you start like for me personally, when I started on this journey and I've been doing it for the last 3 years, I moved into a new modality for polarity, right? I go to these classes every month and it it's a lot of self study, learning where your anxiety comes from, where
Hmm.
your biases come from, where these things come from so
Hmm.
that you can heal it at the root.
Right.
And not being judgmental about yourself, because like
That's very important.
I'll always say it over and over, we all have our own experiences, we all go through our own shit.
Hmm.
We all deal with it in our own ways, and who am I to
Right.
tell somebody else, oh, that's the wrong way, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So
So, Maddie, Deanna, so like, we all have this, not all, but as a society, we have this thing about us where if we can't see something or we can't touch it, it ain't there, it ain't real.
yep.
I mean, I know it's not your job to convince the whole world. So, what
Right.
is your goal?
What is my goal?
Yeah, as far as the community goes, because it seems like you're trying to help people. You want to, but at the same time, there you still have to help take care of yourself while you do it. You don't want to. So, how do you
um
like
Yeah, what is
look
the
at this whole?
business goal? You want to
Yeah,
have your own storefront completely? What is, what's the ideal scenario in your world with this?
wow, that's a good question. Ideally,
right.
um just to build community where
Mm.
people understand what I'm talking about and are willing to help other people, because I personally believe this is the work that can change the way
No,
that the
this is
world is
great work.
going right
I
now.
believe so too. I believe
It's
so
not
too.
about politics and all that stuff. I
Hmm.
personally don't believe that. Voting for someone else is not going to change anything. It starts right here with you. When you
Right.
can change yourself and give yourself, the chance to be vulnerable and share your story and still be kind to other people and helpful to other people and with the people that you're with every day, that's what's going to change things.
Mhm.
That's really what
I
I feel.
can't really
I think
argue that. That's for sure.
if
Yep.
you really want something, you're definitely going to be willing to listen to something that'll help you get it. Um, Shoosh.
Right. As opposed to, just, having a conversation only to respond
Because
and
I
not
think
really
you
learn,
need an open mind. You
Yeah.
need an open mind to
Hmm.
understand this. This
Yeah.
is stuff that we talk about. Deanna, me and Maddie talk about this stuff all the time. Like we always say, we believe in it. It's the truth. Like if your mind is not right, you cannot give 100% physically with the rest of you, mind, spirit, then body, and then you can
Yeah.
help take care of your people. You can't give
Yeah.
your kids everything unless you have 100%, or you can't give your family everything, or my people, whatever. So this is big, mental health.
Yeah.
Um,
It's all connected. It's all connected. Our thoughts are energy. Really, if you're thinking negatively all the time and every word that you spit out of your mouth is negative,
Come
it's just going to be
on.
negative all the time.
I was about
Oh
to
my God.
ask you about manifestation. Is that, I'm
Yes.
sure that's a big, part of what you do. And it's something that I've had to learn where you know, it's a mindset a lot of times, man. You wake up, if you want to have a good day, have a good day. Tell yourself it's going to be a good day.
Manifest. Yeah, man.
Or you could just, be miserable and
Yeah.
also have a bad day. I see a lot of it at work with a lot of people where it's like, like change the mindset, right? You got to wake up. You had the privilege of having a job, going to work, as opposed to, well, I gotta go to work. I gotta do this. I gotta, that simple little mindset change can not only make your day better, but overall just, open new doors and new relationships and open those emotions that put you in a good and happy place,
Yeah.
as opposed to being like, oh man, all right, I gotta do this again. Like, no, man, you woke up today. It's a
Nobody
beautiful
wants to
thing.
be
Like,
around that guy
you know,
anymore. Nobody wants.
no, but we
Nobody.
see it in a lot of people, right? And
Nobody wants to be around that person.
it's
It's just
something.
bad.
It's something that I've experienced quite a lot. Growing up, I was very negative, very, just
Oh, right.
angry a
Same.
lot of the
Definitely
times.
same.
Yeah.
It changing my mindset really had a lot to do with like the panic disorder. You
Mm,
could
Mm.
you could have a panic attack just because you're afraid to have a panic attack.
you're
If
right.
you
Yo,
change that
Jeez.
loop, I'm so serious. And
Yeah.
if you
I have
change that loop in
anxiety
your
and I don't
mind, it
even know
changes things.
why. I have anxiety and everything's going good. What's wrong? Yeah, man. What the
Well,
hell's wrong with you?
sometimes anxiety can be also excitement. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's a
Mm.
polarity there.
that simulation is crazy though. Like, I don't
So,
want it.
all right, so let's talk a little bit about that because like recently when I was down in Florida, I broke myself, me and W broke ourselves out of a comfort zone of public speaking and putting ourselves out there, interviewing people, just random strangers. For me, that was groundbreaking because
Yeah, that's
it's something that I have so much anxiety over. Now, is that just because I'm excitement out of the have excitement out of the potential of what could happen, or is like what's going on there with my mindset? Because it's
I
been
want to say it's
something.
both.
Okay, yeah, no, speak more
It's
on it.
both.
Yeah.
There's we have a lot of us have trauma on around being seen for who
Mm,
we really are. You know what
mm,
I mean? So that's scary, but also exciting that you're gonna break out of that. I can relate 100%, a
mm,
100%. But you have to have the capacity for that. I was telling you the other day, I had an opportunity to be on a podcast in the past about 3 years ago, and I just wasn't ready. I
right.
thought I
right.
was ready. I was trying to push myself, and I told it was
You're
like
doing
I
this
couldn't
one
do
like
it.
it's nothing, and this one you're flowing.
But I
You're
had
like,
to get here, and I had to give myself
I know
grace
it.
for that moment. You know what I mean? And acknowledge that moment for what it was. I wasn't ready.
Mm,
So I got a question. So is it your opinion, not even opinion, is it a fact that negative energy and misery, does that age us physically?
Yes.
mm.
It
Yes.
does it.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
I
It
can
does.
does.
attest to that. Yeah, yeah.
So if
uh,
I'm
I don't
miserable
know.
and grumpy, I'm gonna get older, my skin's gonna go faster,
Yes.
I might
Yes,
walk,
because
I'm
of
gonna get slower.
your face makes you make certain faces when you're in this negative mood, right? And
okay.
like I said,
Your
if you
face is
don't.
gonna stay that way if you keep doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that a
Yes,
lot growing up, right?
I actually have a post on my Instagram where I show a picture of myself when I was 30, just, embarking on this.
Mm.
And at 37, and clear difference. My face looks brighter. I've lost weight.
Let me see if I
It
can find that. Yeah.
it's true.
How
Wow.
long
No, I
ago was
know
that,
it was.
Deanna? That post, that's
Um,
one you're talking about. It was a while ago. I'm just
yeah,
trying to like quick search it a little bit. Yeah.
if you find a picture of me by side, like two side by side pictures of me, that's probably it. Just go
Okay.
down a little
I'm
bit.
looking. Yeah, I'm looking.
But go ahead, yeah.
But yeah, it's we hold on to stuff energetically. You don't think that you're holding on to it, but you are. If you
Consciously
don't,
you are.
and the problem is that we are taught young that when we feel negative things, it's bad.
Or
Mm,
let it
But it's
go. I
not
don't worry
bad.
about
Our
it.
emotions are messengers, really. If you're feeling some type of way and it's bad, the point is just to give it space and let it show you something. Because that's what it's telling you. It's telling you where you shouldn't be, who you shouldn't be around anymore.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
instead
yeah,
we
yeah.
we stick these things down because they feel uncomfortable.
Right.
That's where coping, learning how to cope is very important. And so energy work helps bring capacity to the nervous system where you start feeling safe again to move through these things.
There's a lot of C's: capacity, cope, comfort.
In regards to your certifications and more on like the topic of what we were talking about before, how somebody might be skeptical, being, like, talk about what goes into obtaining these certifications. What is the criteria? Just to be a little bit more in depth, a little bit more transparent about that.
Okay, so Reiki, I'll be honest with you, there's not much that you have to do. You can just go somewhere and say I want to be certified. You go through the process of learning. They teach you the positions for your hands and the backstory of where Reiki came from, and then they do this thing called initiation where the person teaching you, who has to be a Reiki master, basically opens up your energy channels so that you can also channel that energy. When
Okay.
it comes to polarity, it's a little more in depth. It's actually, polarity therapy is based off of a lot of medical research, chiropractor and chiropractic and Ayurveda, things like that. And it was created and founded by a doctor
Okay.
who actually studied, traditional Chinese medicine and all these things and kind of made one big modality. So I'm in the process of doing that. I'm in my second year of that. And like I said, it takes a lot of self study. I meet up twice a month, where it's a lot of self reflection, and learning about yourself helps you be there for other people. And
Yes.
it's been a lot, and I'll tell you, being a single parent of four and still dedicating myself to that, I feel like says a lot. I love it so much. Like, I'm so passionate about it that I can't leave it. uh, because it's helped me so much, and it's I'm in the process of changing my life now. When you talk about manifestation, people don't talk about it in the real sense that it is. You can't just think of something and it manifests. You have to create it. And
Will it?
sometimes we can't create it if we're not feeling safe. So
Mm.
my learning how to feel safe in my body and interact with people in new ways is what's actually manifesting and changing my life.
Hmm.
It matters, right? Yeah, you have to, not only do you want to manifest it, but you have to live and put yourself in an environment in which you feel comfortable in. Growing up in the city, I believe you can find reason to have anxiety or panic attacks in every corner you turn. I think it's one of the reasons why W moved down to Florida, because I don't think mentally, W, you could speak on it yourself, but I know we've talked privately about how, like, it's just so much going on
Yeah,
in
I
this
said it
city,
before. The
Yeah.
main reason was like it was that point in my life where I couldn't. There was no more evolution for me, and I felt like I couldn't get away from who I was or who I want and get to where I want to be. It
Mm.
wasn't, so I felt like a change of scenery was necessary. And then, my folks were here and I hadn't been around them for decades and they were getting in there and, in later stages of their lives. So, I wanted to be there. So it was a lot of it was all mental stuff though, definitely.
Hmm.
Family things, yeah. But
So
definitely
you
the
feeling better
evolution.
now?
Yeah, I lost 50 pounds the first year I was here.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, yeah, because I was really, it was dark. It was dark time. It was 2020, and we were all trying to figure out what was we going to do in our lives. And I realized that it was a turning point. Like 2020 was 9/11 ish. Like I feel like I was 21
Yeah, for
during
sure.
9/11. You guys were talking about it. You guys are a little younger, and that time that was a big turning point and pivot of all of us. So, and that's how I feel like 2020 was with the pandemic. It was really time for reflection, and we were witnessing something we had never seen, and it changed a whole bunch of relationships. We all lost people. It was a really trying time for me, and of course for everyone. We all went through that. So,
And
yeah, that's why
you're leaving
definitely.
out an important part of that too, where not only did you move down to Florida to better yourself, but you started yourself on this running journey that,
Yeah.
again, for me, I'm forever in debt for you, because you motivated me to start running. And what that did for my own mental health, it's I, it's
Yeah, I
beyond
was
words, it's beyond
a lot of
explanation.
everything Deanna's talking about, like I said, the spirituality of it, it resonates. We talk about that stuff all the time. That's why we were excited to have you to come on, Deanna, because I knew this was going to be like this. But the running, it feels like there's such a parallel with what she does, Maddie, because it is self-healing as well. Like I said, I had this ankle that used to crack for like 10 years. Every time I wiggle, it's gone. No one,
Yeah.
I didn't go to a doctor, didn't fix it. It's gone. My lower back was hurting. It's gone.
It's funny too. You would think, running to the extent that we do would actually
cried
worsen that, but it strengthened
It-
it. Yeah.
No, you're moving energy that way. That's
Yeah.
probably one things that I really recommend to people, especially when they have anxiety. What I started out with was just going for a walk,
Mm,
Right.
because you're not staying
yeah.
stuck in it. You're moving it. You're moving it so it comes out.
Yeah, physical movement is so big, and it's something that I talked with my mother quite a lot about, and anybody in general. But I'll use my mother as the example, especially getting up there in age. Not as active as she once was. Hey, listen, it's very simple. You don't have to go to the gym, lift weights, whatever. Go for a walk, 15 minutes
It-
every day.
yeah,
Just
the
get a
walk-
little sun. Get out there. Like that little difference. It will change your life. It's true. Like, you know, I run a lot, but even lately not as much. But just that, little bit. I'll get out there today, maybe do a little 3 miles. Just that feeling in itself. It changes everything for me. Makes me feel good about myself. I did a little, physical activity, just the whole body. It releases that stress, that anxiety that's going on.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You got to find ways,
We
especially,
we
with
don't
everything that's
find
going on here.
we don't take care of ourselves enough. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And I get it, especially when you're a parent. You're like, oh, there's no time. There's no time.
right, right.
When I work with moms, I tell them set a timer 2 to 3 times a day, 5 minutes. 5 minutes, that's all you need. Just to sit
Hmm.
there, no phone, and just sit with yourself.
It's important.
Yeah, no, that's great. What you just said, having time, that led up to the question I was about to ask you. I'm about to ask you, do you think all of us, like I feel I do, I don't know, but all of us as a society, once again, and as a community, do you think we put too much pressure on ourselves, undue pressure,
Yes.
like
Sure, sure.
deadlines and how do we what do we do
Yes.
about that? How do
Well,
we
I was
fix like
talking with Deanna prior to the show. I was like, this is the moment of panic for me.
I,
So I set out for a 10:30 start time. It's
I'm
now
doing a
what,
lot of
10:15.
self-reflecting during the show, Deanna. Like this, I feel like it's you don't even know it.
But
So
I
I'm
was,
getting my I owe you some money right now. But like do we like because I'm like talking like damn man, I always pressure myself. Like it's stupidest things, like even I don't know, but how do we how do we fix that? I mean, even in a small way.
I,
whether it be
I
a
want to
breathing
say,
technique, something. So,
Right, anything. Tell me some stuff. Help me out, girl. Talk to me, baby. Talk to me, baby, please.
I honestly, just self-care. Just making sure that you're putting time for yourself. Have a good morning routine where it's just you. You know what I mean? And you're
mm,
you're pouring into yourself before you're pouring out of yourself later on.
yeah,
You always got to give back to you. You really that what's that saying? You can't pour from an empty cup. That's
Right.
huge. That's
gotcha.
huge, and that is energetic.
I
If you're
have this thing.
constantly giving your energy away, you're gonna
Right.
start feeling run down.
I have this thing about me, like I'm talking about myself a little, Maddie.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
gonna expose myself a bit. I have this thing about me, like I have to have this pressure situation where I'm almost losing it and then get my composure when my back's against the wall to perform at my best. And it works for me, but I hate it. And that's what I was saying. Everything's pressure for me, and I don't know how to get out of that. I don't know if I,
So I
like I
would,
said,
if I were you, I would take a lot of time to self-reflect on that. Where did that first start for you?
I don't
Why?
know. I mean,
You,
there's right, like, but I need to have like the end of days is near, and then I'll come up with something spectacular. And I've always done that, but during that process, it drives me insane.
Mm,
So I don't.
so
Yeah,
I would say this would be a good point for you, like knowing this to get an energy session, because something like this where you can't figure out why you're feeling stuck and why you can't change that habit, going through an energy work session by the afterwards, things start to come up. you'll start to have
Right.
revelations like, oh, that's why, or new memories about something that you closed off. That's the point. You haven't processed whatever caused that in the past, and it's just sitting in you, and it's a habit, and it's something that you just keep
I
doing.
hate
So if you
deadlines,
had an
but I love them. It's sick. I hate
what?
deadlines, but I love them. I said I hate deadlines, but I'm great with them, and it drives me insane. You know, and then me, and I create deadlines for myself, Maddie. Like, oh, I'll do it, procrastinating, I'll do it, there's always pressure, or even things that I don't even know where the pressure's coming from, but there's always a pressure. Like, whoa, but I have to find why, huh? The source.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to change it, unless it works for you.
It does in a sick
Right,
way,
right.
and so I don't even know because I'll have, yeah, I don't worry about it. I'm gonna get it done. So there's a confidence in that too, and it makes me tick. So
Can
it's definitely a double-edged sword for
let
me.
me add to that, because I know,
But
I know,
help me out.
and let me break it down a little bit just for Deanna a little. So I understand what he's saying in the sense that when he, and it's kind of the same with me, when it comes to like content creating and things like that. When we put it out there, we put it out in the world. Hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. It it triggers us in our brain that okay, we're gonna get this done. Now there's a bit of a panic that sets in. That okay,
Stick.
now we got to stick to this. So it's kind of like forcing us to do something that's uncomfortable. And in that period in which that leads up to it, there's a bit of anxiety, there's a bit of panic that sets in,
A bit.
but ultimately we get the job done. Now,
Yeah.
if we don't commit, we don't promote ourselves or put the word out there that we are
It's
going
not
to
as
do
good.
something, the end result is not
It's
as
not as
good,
good.
like he just mentioned. Why that is the case?
Maddie, you are spot on.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I
And you
wanted to
use us
reiterate
together
that a little bit.
same way individually, same
Yeah.
way we are together as you. Yes.
Because it's like that with me a little bit too. If I put it out there, I'm saying I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Like with the whole Florida
Yeah.
thing, put promotions out there, and we got it done. Even though it was uncomfortable as shit, I had anxiety. I was riddled with
I'm big
anxiety.
on my word, like following through. When I open my mouth, yeah, we're gonna go do this. We're gonna go here. We're gonna do that.
Yeah.
So I try not to say. So once I open my mouth and say it, I have to go get it done. That's me.
Now I
You know.
got I
So
guess my question for you, Deanna, is that a healthy way of going
yeah,
about
yeah.
things, or is that
That's my.
something
I can't really say for you personally. I
right?
think I think if it works for you and you're not like being negative towards yourself in the process, it's
Mm,
okay. You know what I mean? Because I have to say I get what you're saying. It's so easy to bail
Yeah,
out when you
yeah.
don't put that pressure there. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
So you're helping yourself grow. So I would say that it's a positive thing
No,
as
there
long
Okay.
is a
as
lot of
you're not
times that there is no negativity. It's sometimes
okay.
it's an unknowing, like what's happening, but it's not like, oh, it's gonna, I know at the end it's gonna get done. We're gonna
There you
do it.
go. Then I
I
would say
know
that's
that.
pretty healthy.
I think
So, but yeah,
it
the
can be
process is a little grueling sometimes.
I think for me there was a point in my content creation a little while back that it bred negativity, and I had to self reflect a little. Took some time away from creating content. Shortly, took about like a 2-3 week hiatus, and really just I did a lot of self reflection during that time. I spoke privately with W about it, other people about it, my wife. Me and her had a lot of conversations in regards to it because I felt like I was devoting so much time to the wrong things. Um, when it came to my content creation, and it's not easy. Obviously, I was a father of four again, just managing the time with all this. So for me, it really has to be something that I enjoy doing, that I feel like is worth doing, because I'm already taking away time in other aspects of my life, whether it be the kids, wife, other hobbies I like to do, to make time for these types of things. And again, I like doing this, but it got to a point where I felt like I was doing too much, and some of the content that I was putting out, just I didn't really have the passion. Or even when it came to my own running journey, last year I ran 5 marathons. Now that's all great, good for me, fabulous. But there was a negative downside to that, I will say, because coming into this new year, it almost as if I had this odd expectation hanging over my head that I had to do it again. Why? why I felt that way, I have no idea. Maybe it was pressures of society, the algorithm telling me, oh, you're not quite good enough, you need to work harder. These were the types of things that were going on in my head. These were the stories I was telling myself. I mentioned that a lot on here, the stories that we tell ourselves. And
Yeah.
I've been a victim of it. And certainly there was a time where I felt like I was creating content just to feed the algorithm, not because I truly was passionate about it or wanting to do it. I was going out for a run because told myself I have to do it, as opposed to just genuinely enjoying it. And so not only I take time away from running, but I took time away from creating content for a little bit. And now, like, I'm at a space where it's like, I love going for that run again. Even though it hurts and it's physically tiring and things like that, but I'm out there, I'm singing, I'm enjoying. I got the sun, I hear the birds. It's
Right.
just it feels good again. There was a time where it felt like a chore, like, oh, okay, I have to do this, and anything, if it ever feels like a chore, then I know that's a signal to myself, like, no, there's a problem here. We gotta switch
Yeah.
it up. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but was something that I was battling
I
for
I
sure.
want to say I've been there too.
Yeah.
I think it's all really coming back to yourself. Like, we're so distracted, like you just said. You know what I mean? Was it the algorithm? Was it people's others expectations? And
Opinions,
really,
yeah.
you
Trolls.
got to keep being grounded in yourself and moving from there.
Mm.
So that's great. Segue to the question I want to ask about social media and the effects of our mental health, and how much does that play a part in your therapy sessions, or letting people know, or advice with people. And Maddie, we talked about the Meta lawsuit,
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it
and
up for you guys right here. Yep.
what we're finding out about the mental effects on social media. And of course, your children, Maddie's children, this is a generation who's raised strictly on social media. Of course,
Hmm.
us, we had a time where we didn't have it, even though our age group is screwed up with it too. Even though we don't want to admit it, the kids and the social media, it's all of us. But
Yeah.
tell me about the social media aspect of mental health, and whatever you
I'm
want to say about it.
I'm pretty strict on when it comes to social media and my children, honestly.
Okay.
Mm.
And
And
tell us why. Tell us about it. Tell us everything.
I don't allow YouTube. I don't allow Snapchat. I don't allow TikTok. They can talk to their friends through it and all that. There's no phones allowed at the dinner table. There has to be specific times where there's no phones during the day.
Mm.
I allow it, but like I said before, it's all about using things consciously. What is your intention when you're using this?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said before, we're constantly pulled away from ourselves. If we don't know who we are and what we enjoy and what we like, and what
That
what our
phone is
mission
the
is and
ultimate
purpose is,
distraction.
right, you're pulled in all these different directions doing things for
Ultimate.
other people, and it's hurting you in the meantime. So I kind of just I live what I've learned, and I try to be the best example for my kids, and I have restrictions around it. My kids are teenage boys, and I hear crap about it. Oh, but my friend, I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
now, just how old? What are the ages again
So
for
I
your
have
kids?
14, 16, and 18-year-old sons, and I
Yes.
have a 4.5 daughter.
Okay, so excluding your daughter, the 4.5 year old daughter, um, so your older children, they have limited access to social media. Like, what's the
Yeah,
parameters are on it?
they play games
Okay.
online, but it's only specific times. They're not allowed to have their phones at the dinner table
Mm-hmm.
because that's where we connect. You know what I mean? They're not allowed to watch certain things if I don't think it's okay, and I try to keep them away from YouTube, TikTok, and Snapchat because I feel
So
like,
they don't have personal accounts on those platforms. They
no.
don't have full access
My
to it.
oldest does now because, like I
Okay.
said, he's 18.
He's a big boy.
I gotta let him start
Right,
doing his
right,
own
right,
thing.
right.
But yeah,
But that's
that's
when
what we
you
can.
gave full permission at 18 years old. That okay, you can
My
have an
my
account now.
two younger sons just got cell phones
Okay.
just recently.
But
So
they don't have active accounts, like they're not actively on Instagram or whatever, or TikTok.
No,
No,
no.
okay, yeah. See, I find that interesting because my oldest was unfortunately introduced way too early and still continuously has access now. And
Full
kind of
access.
out of my hands a little bit at the current
Full
moment.
access.
But again, that is a thing, and I've seen that with a lot of younger children as well. And I don't necessarily agree with it. Credit to you for enforcing that,
Mhm.
because the outside pressures from other parents or other children, it's tough to stick by.
Always there.
It's stick, especially when they're all your kids, they attend in person school. All.
No, so let me touch base on that. I
Mm.
homeschool since 2020.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that helps. That helps
You
because
definitely
you don't
qualify.
have that everyday school influence of,
That's a
Yeah.
good
the
look.
kids, influencing them for sure. Okay. And you could,
Yes.
it's a little bit easier to clamp down. Okay.
Right.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But they've also, not since they're older, and we have open communication, they've seen the change in me. The
Mm,
mom that I was when they were 5, 6 is not the mom that I am now. So I think that really helps,
mm-hmm.
to
You're
be
more
honest.
reasonable and listening and more
Yes, I'm
Sure.
not
you're easier to come to
lashing
probably.
out, or
Yeah, they're easy to tell you stuff, they're easy to
yeah.
talk to probably, yeah.
I
So
think that's
they'll
so
trust
important. I think that's really, really important. And
that trust.
there's this trust, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, maybe I don't agree with mom, but I trust her
Right.
because
Right.
look at how much
Tell her,
she's
yeah,
grown.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's important.
Well, you got to lead by
So
example, right? So
A
I
that,
have a
hundred
follow-up
percent.
question. I have a follow-up question. So, okay, the children, social media, you told us how you deal with that. So for how about for a client or a friend or family you have advice for, or an older person who doesn't have any restrictions, social media restrictions, and they're already in the game, and but they want to make changes. What do you tell them? What do you as far as dealing with social media and using it and how they're using it, what have you?
I would put limits on it, and especially I would start where it's when you have moments of connection with other people,
mm,
or you're eating, especially because I feel like eating, we forget how mindful eating can be. Like, okay, in order to practice the pause and start to have a lot of self-awareness, meditation is a really good thing to do. But sometimes people are like, oh, I can't do this, I can't quiet my mind. So mindfulness practices are a good place to start.
Mindfulness.
When you're eating, instead of being distracted,
mm,
enjoy the food that you're eating.
right.
Use all your senses to
Yeah,
no,
that's
I'm
crazy.
serious. But
Crazy.
when
You're
you
right.
when you focus on your senses in a small moment like that, you're being completely mindful. You're really in the moment.
It's about being present, right? For sure.
Yes, 100%.
Which is
I
so
Probably
tell
hard
shouldn't
to
people
take
the
do in
control of
truth.
your.
today's society.
Yes,
Yeah.
but when you practice it during little things like that, or taking a walk, feeling your feet on the ground,
Hmm.
when you're washing dishes, instead of being distracted thinking about other stuff, feeling the water on your hands, the temperature, the soap. And I know it sounds silly, but that's what
No,
slows
no,
you
I don't.
down.
No, for
Because
It
you're
sure.
slows
now
you down.
you're not paying attention to anything around
Right.
you, and you're missing out.
Yeah.
And, and
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
and then
So
the
it makes sense.
chemical, the
Makes sense.
science to it as well. Like we're constantly feeding ourselves this dopamine hit, especially when you're just there scrolling on your phone. It's like we just need more of it. We need more of it.
It is. That's what it
It's an
is, Maddie.
addiction in itself.
It
It,
is.
Yeah,
it is. Kids have withdrawals, real withdrawals. They
Yes.
yeah,
mistake. It's real. It's real dope. Once
yeah,
again, and anything could have an addiction. Food, the phone, gambling, drugs, whatever.
yeah.
Addicted to
I
love.
see it with my younger daughter. We allow her some TV time for sure, but me and my wife, we're constantly assessing it and constantly understanding. Okay, like you know, all right, we're
It's so
limiting
easy.
this. It's
Like
not.
it's so easy to
Intention.
get the kids hooked though, Maddie, because you guys both parents. I'm not, but you guys could have just gave them a tablet. All right, leave me alone. And a lot of
Right.
parents do.
Which is something
I
we
got
don't.
it.
We don't.
Yeah, you
She
guys
has
are
a
knowledge.
tablet, but she
You
doesn't.
guys are
He doesn't
aware.
utilize it. When we go out to eat, we do not give her a tablet to, you
That
know,
short-term fix to give the
yeah,
kids something to do is a
Kudos.
long-term
yeah,
problem.
I'm so glad to hear
yeah.
that. And like, I don't want to judge anybody, but I very much dislike when you're out at a restaurant and
Right,
kids are just on how are they going to learn how to be a part of, if
right,
you know
right.
what I mean? You have to allow a little bit of misbehavior. And that's another thing that I like to talk about too, is like
Mm,
misbehavior from kids is not always because they want to be misbehaving. They don't know how to express themselves. How
Right,
are we
right.
teaching them this if we're always just putting them in front of a device?
We have to
Yes.
pay attention.
We're not allowing them to deal with their own devices of just
Exactly.
dealing with those emotions. Yeah, we're just
I
here.
think every
Here's the
generation,
dopamine. It's all right. It's okay. You'll be
think
all
every
right.
generation is starting to respect the children more than the last, a little bit more from our parents
Yeah, for
to
sure. Yeah.
now following, because like I said, our generation has more respect for children than probably our folks did. We were seen and not heard. I was born in
Yeah.
1970, you shut your
Yeah.
mouth, you're grown folk
Yeah.
talking over there, get out of here, go play with your badass cousins, beat it. And that's what it was. So, questions you were scared, I was scared to ask.
Yeah.
So the trust wasn't as like Deanna we're talking about trust with the parents, not like on my folks. My folks are great, but there's always going to be, we're all human, but the trust where you're scared to say, tell pop this,
Hmm.
and sometimes I wish it wasn't
Yeah.
like that. Um,
Yeah, and
and then,
whether or not it's because they instilled a level of fear
and
in
then you,
us because of
right,
that.
right,
Right.
the
Yeah.
fear that there was
Yeah.
fear. So
Yeah.
now I'm sneaking around because I still have a mischievousness in me that I still have to this day. But now I'm sneaking around and using my intelligence to be bad, and because so that's everything, and knowing what's going on. I think with the kids and respecting them, it's so pertinent and important.
Definitely. I remember growing up thinking my parents didn't respect me. And then it was
Hmm.
Yeah,
like, well, if you're
you
not
don't
going to
care what I
respect
say
me, I'm
anyway.
not going to respect you. And then, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. You
yeah,
want me
no,
to do this and that, and you want me to get these grades? F them grades. I don't care. What am I getting out of it? Leave me alone. So, you didn't understand what they were trying to do because it didn't make sense to
yeah,
us.
well, and
The way
that's the
about it.
pattern, right? That's generational patterns. We have our
Hmm.
own patterns, and then there's generational patterns and societal patterns.
Yeah.
It's becoming conscious and aware of these things so that we can change them for the better. That's really going to change things. Doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over is just madness.
It is, but we fall victim to it every day in our own lives and our children lives,
Yeah.
whatever it
And
is. Yeah.
I just want to say, like you said before, I'm not perfect. I've been on this journey for over a decade now. Am I in
Mm.
a better spot than I used to be? Absolutely. Is there room to improve? Absolutely. It's a journey, and I'm giving myself grace while I go through the human experience, and we
Right.
all have to do that.
As you should.
We are gonna get out of here a little soon, okay? Not too soon. Don't go anywhere, everybody, just yet. But just throwing that out there, we are coming to end to the show soon. Deanna, I want to thank you for coming on today, talking. We just, Dub and I are forever grateful. We really appreciate the conversation, and we're happy to promote you and what it is you do. Outside of what you do with the energy practice, what do you do for a living, for your full time gig? How do you put the bread on the table?
Yes, tell us your business.
I work at the WIC office, Women, Infant, and Children. It's
Wow.
a supplemental nutrition program with the city, the state, that helps women, infant, and children get the nutrition needs met if they have a little trouble doing that. And I honestly really enjoy it. It's a great atmosphere where I work, and I like helping. I like helping people. We all need
It's
help,
kind of
right?
Yeah.
it's kind of fitting job to you because you really seem like a very positive influence on your community, our community, because we're all from a healing and mental, positive mental aspect. Um,
Thank
so
you so
you
much.
meet,
Like, I'm so happy to
yeah,
be
no
here
doubt.
with you guys, really.
So the WIC office, you see people going through all kind of struggles. You could being an energy person, you could feel it before they speak, and you have a
Mhm.
lot of compassion.
For
How does
sure.
that what does that do for you at your mental and your spirit? And work dealing with people who are in a tough spot a lot of times, day in and day
Mm.
out. How does
Um,
that help you?
Yeah,
And
how's that weigh on you mentally?
or
Do
how does
you?
it bring it to you? And how does it help you give back out?
Mm.
um, I have a lot of faith and trust. So it does bother me when people are going through things, but again, like
Hmm.
I believe in a higher source, and you have to have faith that those people are going to find what they need to find and that they have their own faith. And uh, I everybody's going through something, and I'm I'm hoping, honestly, in the future, I've already talked to a supervisor about it. I would like to bring some of this to the WIC office because I feel like stress is such a big thing, and it affects everything else. If you're always stressed, how are you gonna be okay to worry about where your food is coming from? How
Yeah,
are you gonna take care of your children and you know what I mean? So we'll see where this all goes.
it
You getting
definitely
one
ties
meal a
into
night.
it,
Now
no
you got to
doubt.
worry about tomorrow. So it's always there. I'm worried. I got today done. Now that it comes tomorrow, and living like that, it's not a lot of longevity that way.
Yeah.
Um,
And
Has
I try to always give back to myself. Like I always try to give I call self-care preventative health care. Like I said before, if you're not giving back to yourself, you're always giving. And me as a mom, going to my job, having kids, I'm in a relationship and then energy work. I have to find time to give back to myself. And I always am
right.
so aware that like a couple weeks ago, I was so run down, I was so emotional, and I wasn't thinking much of it. And then suddenly it was like, it dawned on me. I was like, I'm not giving back to myself. I need to take a
You can't
break.
keep taking away. You got to put back. Yeah. You
Yes.
got to you
So
got to put the food back in the fridge.
yeah, I have those moments too. And I actually had a class that weekend, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give myself this time to rest. I'll do it online. You know what I mean? You just adapt so that you take care of yourself. And if I didn't do that, I would have been exhausted the next week too. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Deanna, I have one for you. I've always heard the term growing up, especially when it comes to parenting, that the kids come first. The kids come first. The kids come first. Even though I feel like traditionally, that's not the case. But you hear that a lot, and I don't I never liked the term because I get the sentiment behind it, but I've always been a believer of you come first for yourself. You need to
Yes.
prioritize yourself because if you're not right, then how could you possibly be right for the little humans running around?
100%.
And I've again I've experienced that in my life, and I understand. I've seen the difference. What are your thoughts? Do I'm assuming you agree with me. I just wanted to bring that
I
up
do.
because it's been, right. You got to prioritize yourself before anything. You know.
Absolutely. You're the role model for them. So if you're always doing and you're always run down, what are you teaching them?
Mm,
To do it to themselves too.
right. Yeah.
And me, if I didn't take care of myself and I didn't start focusing on how to cope through my big emotions and my anxiety and stuff like that, they could have taken that on.
Mm,
Now they know,
Not the
oh,
growth,
I feel
right?
bad, I have to work through this. And I was lashing out. I mean, when you're anxious, you can be bitter.
yeah.
There was a point where
A
I was
bit
bitter
bitchy.
and I
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah, and agitated and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Explosive.
and that's, like I said, that's where that trust comes from, because they've seen me go from that to, okay, mom wants to sit down and have a conversation. She's not going to
Mm,
judge anything that I'm telling her. So yeah, I 100% believe that you come first. If you're not taking care of you, you're not going to be at your best to take care of somebody else.
right. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I never really. And I've always hated that terminology. It's and I hear it
It's
a lot.
taught.
People still say it. It's like, oh,
It's
I'm like,
taught.
I get it. I get why you think that way. Yes. Yes. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you have
Yeah.
kids, yes, they come
They're,
for,
they're
or
most important. You
family
got to take
members
care of
that depend
yourself.
on you. Sure.
Yeah.
But
Being selfish is not a bad thing. If
mm,
you're doing it all the time, yeah. But if and you're only about
right.
yourself,
Right.
yeah. But if you're taking time for yourself, that's the groundwork. That's the foundation you're working from. So it's
Yeah.
You
important.
can't give 100% if you're at 50%.
Right.
There's no, it's
No.
impossible.
Yeah. Being a
So
little selfish to a certain extent is
that's
necessary. Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
to take care
For
of.
your own mental health, for sure. I just love it because again, there's the things that people don't want to admit or have the conversation about, and it's so important. I think that's what it's why I like to have these conversations because I'm trying to change that generational trauma that I grew up with, and I know my brother can attest to that as well. He me and him have conversations about it all the time. It's not a knock on my mother or father. I look back and I say they did the best they could with the knowledge that they
Hmm.
had. It is what it
Absolutely.
is. Like they
Absolutely.
weren't perfect by any means. Neither am I. But they tried in their own right, and certainly my mother dealt with a whole hell of a lot of generational trauma that it goes beyond my mental capacity. I can only imagine what it was like for her growing up. Um, and, again, here we are trying to change those patterns. Having conversations like this today with you is a part of that. It's a good reminder to me that I'm human, that it's okay to, be messing up at times. But, again, as
Yeah.
long as you're self reflecting and having that conversation, and it'll lead you on a much better path. Jub, any other questions or comments before we get out of
Sounds
here,
like we're
son?
now. It sounds like the cadence and the tone you're taking over here. So okay, so yeah. Um, she shoots. So Deanna, what was I gonna say to you? Ask you something.
Or Deanna, do you have any questions for us before we get out of here
Yes.
today?
Um, yeah, I have a good question. What
Okay.
is your goal? What is your mission? What is your ultimate goal with doing this stuff that you're
There
doing?
you go. I like that one. Listen, at the end of the day, I have a passion for sports radio, but what we do here on the Mental Health Show is definitely near and dear to my heart. It's interesting to see the growth of technology and social media and everything like that. And where do we fit in all of this? Ideally, if this could become a full-time job for me, where you know I'm streaming, or I'm able to sign a contract with somebody willing to put me on a salary and put me in that podcast space or on radio. That would certainly be the end goal for me. Maybe even a TV show. I don't know. Am I worthy enough? Are people want to listen to me? That's a whole different story. But I don't really care. Because at the end of the day, I enjoy it. I enjoy having fun with it. Right now we don't generate any income from this, so it's solely hobby based. But that is the hope. That is the hope, to do this full time, to generate some income. And again, outside of that, it's just build community, like you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier in the show, is to meet new people, to build a larger community of like-minded people.
Yeah.
I have such a small friend group, always have. If people know me growing up, I knew a lot of people, but for the most part I kept to myself, and kept my friend group small. And I as I've gotten older, I feel the need to want to connect with more like-minded people, and this has certainly been a platform to do it. Um, and just have challenging conversations with others, challenging their beliefs and their understanding on things. That to me is very interesting, and like we talked about today, breaking some of those generational patterns in a positive way is something that means more to me than anything, and it helps me grow as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a friend. Um, and hey, listen, if I can make a little money while doing it, awesome. If not, it's not the end all be all. It really isn't to me. I don't care. Like, I'll always find work. I'll always find ways to make money. But if I can have a community of people getting together and just being like minded, and why not? It makes me feel good. I enjoy doing it. I've enjoyed this episode with you, and there's nothing that's stopping me from doing it in the meantime. It's just as long as I could push that that streaming button and go, or hop on a radio station and somebody give me the platform to talk, I will continue to do so. So there's my answer with that. Dub, you have an answer for her?
Yeah. I'd have an answer. This is what I was gonna say before I forgot. Like my lights came off. Let me turn them on real quick before we get
Ah,
out of here. Yeah. So I just want to tell you, this is the end of our Women's History Month. This is our last show. Deanna, and you closed it out spectacularly. You did a great job. We appreciate you for coming on. And for me, I know there's definitely some pores in my brain that got opened up today. So I'm definitely I'm a receiver. I'm an energy guy too. So this definitely worked for me. You know that because you can tell.
yeah.
So um Uh, yeah, what Maddie said, the big thing is, like he said, he talked about, if we can get on, we can get, but it's really community, and the kind of people that we try to have conversations with is you and the Olivias and the Jennas, and all the people, it's community and like-minded people, and what we were trying to do is to get that platform where we can bring a healer or someone to help us pick up books more,
Yeah.
or someone to listen to make us to listen to good music. That all of this stuff is energy stuff, and I feel like you're a great guest to close this out. It's a microcosm, Maddie. She's a microcosm of everything we're trying to do and we talk about, and you did a great job. Like I said, this was a big show for me, Maddie. She helped me a lot, and I probably owe her
Oh,
money. I don't know. I don't got anything right now, so I'm trying to buy a car. But
reach out on Instagram. We'll talk.
no,
You
I
know,
followed
I
you already. No, you're awesome. You're awesome, and we
thank
a
you.
lot of this stuff we're talking about, and we're not certified, but it's like you reinforced a lot of stuff. Maddie, am I wrong?
No,
Did she
not
reinforce a
wrong at
lot of
all.
stuff
Absolutely.
that we talk about, and we weren't sure if it was true or not. It was just our little theories, but you certified a lot of things. And people can't touch energy; they can't see it. They
Yeah.
can feel it if they look for it, if they want to. But
Mm-hmm.
people have that thing about them about this, in society. If there's no video, it didn't happen. You know, they don't see it, so it's hard for people to believe. But I don't know if this is for everyone. But we'll find
For
out
sure,
shortly, I guess.
but those that do find us, again, we what we do here is we provide that energy, that good energy, that avenue to a new chapter, and that's if it's not for you, it's not for you. Completely understandable. But those that will find us, I hope they stick around for that, very fact that what we do here. Some obviously sometimes we're just talking about sports and a
Yeah,
bunch
we
of
just want them out.
nonsense, but the other
I was
stuff
ranting
is
earlier.
building community, building relationships, and
Yeah,
promoting
we don't get
others and trying
we
to
don't get
uplift
the
others.
what I've been saying all the time, Maddie, when we're kids, we don't really get to pick who we associate with, our friends. Your
Mm.
mom live in that building, you're cool with Sally from the third floor because you both are 8, she's 9, so you're automatically friends. So no, seriously, we go to this school, I go to, you go to Cardozo,
Yeah.
that's your friends. And you
Right.
think, but it's just wherever you at. But now at this certain point in your life, you get older, you get experience, you get to choose. Me and Maddie been cool for about 8 years, 9 years, but he's one of the I chose him. Like
Mhm.
I met him when I was 40 or 39 or something like that. I don't know how old I was when I met him, but and I got this, it's my guy. We like the same thing. It's not, we're just, and I think that's so important. That's what we were talking about with community, Maddie,
Yeah.
and being around the people you're supposed to be around because everyone is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So,
just to touch on you, Deanna, I think it's awesome that you and me, we grew up in very similar circles, but yet we never crossed paths. And then here we
there's
are.
probably a reason for that.
I'm
There's a
at
reason for that.
34 years old, and here we are talking on a podcast. If you told me when I was 16 and you're walking down the street, oh yeah, you're in about 20 years, you're gonna do a podcast with that
With
person.
that lady right there. Yeah. But the
You know?
timing was impeccable though for y'all though.
Yeah.
You guys were supposed to meet now. You probably would
Right.
have met
Yes.
20
Right.
years ago. Y'all probably would have never had now. You probably wouldn't have liked
Yep.
each other ever again. You probably would have had a bad meeting. Fuck this guy. Fuck her.
Yeah, it's very
Forget about him.
possible. I say that about
Yeah,
me.
the
Me and my
timing was
wife have
perfect.
that conversation all the time. Like my wife always says, like, "Yeah, you wouldn't have been friends with me." She's probably right because I
Right.
was
The
like a
timing is
shallow
everything.
dick. Yeah. So, so
You know
timing
the
is
one
absolutely
thing.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I thank you, like really thank you for this opportunity. This was also growth for me, like I said before. So I really appreciate the opportunity just to go out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
And
Right.
and I'm trying to be seen. I'm trying to get these messages out because I do feel, this is really what's going to help the world move forward in a positive way. So
Well,
thank you guys
There's a
so
lot
much.
we
And
need to move
thanks for
forward from.
lifting other people's voice up too. When you have a platform and you use it for something like this, it's super awesome. So
thank
thank
you.
you.
I really do appreciate that. That's it's been a part of what we've been our mission here at Epis Radio. Is just is involving more people. It began with
Good
just
people.
Dubby and I.
Good people.
Sure.
Good people.
You know, well, we'll let the bad people come in too and try to, change their
They'll-
ways.
they'll
But,
get in there. They'll come
we'll
through.
give them a platform if I feel
You
like
bet.
it's necessary. But,
You
but
could
again, that's been a part of our mission. And listen, you are certainly worthy of it. Believe in yourself. You're very well spoken. You're doing great as as a mother and just as an energy practitioner. I might have to book a session now because I'm all for it. So I'll be in touch. All right. But again, we would love to have you on in the near future. If you got anything that you wanted to promote, come on. Or, just maybe we'll do a self-check. We'll do a self-mental health check every now and then. Have you come on and
That
we'll
would be
talk.
cool.
Yeah. I would love it, So, Dub, any last questions before we get out of here, my guy? Or just statements for Deanna and the people? Oh, you muted yourself again. God damn it, bro. We got to get you a new camera.
No, it's not the camera. It's the
Oh,
it's your
no,
mic.
not camera. I mean, your headphones. Yeah.
The mic. Yeah, but anyway, Deanna, once again, you were a perfect guest to close out Women's History Month. We appreciate you and see you soon. Mental Health Monday, we'd love to have you come on for those shows, Maddie, anytime. I think Maddie would agree.
Yes,
and
indeed.
we'll see you soon, my friend. Nice meeting you. And like I said, we'll see you again.
You too. I'll talk to you guys.
And like the motto of the show, the mantra of the show goes, keep showing up as always. Prioritize yourself, people. You can't do any help around the people that are involved with your life if you do not prioritize your own mental health. It's very important, especially in this day and age, in any day and age, but ever more so today. All right, this concludes episode 30 of Mental Health with Epis. Thank you, everybody, for joining. All right, if you're just coming in a little bit late to the live recording, don't worry about it. We'll have the full edited version up for you later this evening. All right, just check it out. Go to the YouTube page, Epis Radio. Hit that bell. Keep the notifications on for any future content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go check out Deanna. All right, I'll put up her page one more time. All right, over at Instagram, you can see the handle on the screen, DeAastol. All right, go give her a follow. You can find all of her information in the bio. You can find all her links to her practices. You can book an appointment with her today. Please do. I highly recommend it. And that's all I got for you.
Baby. Positive vibes, baby.
Yes.
All right, everybody. With that being said, keep showing up. It's your boy, Matty B, Epis Radio Entertainment, W. Dubois. Have a good one.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was. Has this dream stopped?
I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
All right, everybody, have a beautiful Sunday evening, afternoon. Have a beautiful weekend. It's your boy, Matty B. Keep showing up.